Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to PASCO Laboratories. I'm JP, and this week the P stands for pause, because we're taking a pause today to relax a little bit, take a look at some lessons learned as we look at some data of what's going on out there in our schools. And actually, it's not all bad news. We've got some good news, and we're going to share that with you. And to help share that with you, we brought in JJ. Welcome, JJ.
Hey.
What's the J stand for? Just in time. Just in time is what it stands for, because it's just in time for what we're going to show you today. What I want to talk about a little bit is some data that came out from Cognia Learning and Cognia, the Innovation Lab. And you guys might have heard of Cognia. They're the folks that do STEM certifications around the country. You might have remembered them. They were Advanced Ed, and now they are Cognia Innovation Lab. And they have some great data on a survey that they did that used close to 39,000 students. And when they took a look at those 39,000 students, and you can see they were broken up across the different age ranges, they came back and we took a look at that data and we said, that's good data. How can we use that, and how can we make things a little bit better? Of the things that we looked at very closely is this slide that talked about things being new and easy, like the level of difficulty with assignments, versus kind of hard assignments. And what you notice, and what's very interesting here, is that the students aren't feeling like this is very challenging work out there for distance education. Maybe 40% of them felt that it was challenging, but 48% of them said not really challenging work. It's a little too easy. And that's where we thought we can help you here. We can help with this because we have an academy that's able to pull this together and make it more, I don't want to say complicated, more challenging, higher levels of critical thinking for our students, more opportunities for students to develop the content, and better opportunities for our teachers to present content in a way that engages our students. And so that's what we want to talk to you about. We want to bring in this data, but we want to bring in all of this stuff with the Academy, and that's why I brought JJ with me, because you'll recognize him. He's a very important component of the PASCO Physics Academy. The website here listed for you, the PASCO Physics Academy, is a great opportunity to do physics, and we've got the same thing in chemistry, but I want to talk a little bit about the Physics Academy. JJ, can you tell me, I see that there are 3 components to the Physics Academy. Can you tell me a little bit about what those components are?
Yeah, so the 3 components are video segments intended for student and teacher use. 2 of the components are directed to the student, and I mean directly to the student. So the intent is that the student would watch these. One of them includes data collection, obviously, because these are all centered about a lab activity, right? We're trying to help fill that gap in your lab classes these days. With a lot of distance learning taking place, it makes it real difficult to facilitate labs and science classes. So this first video is intended to not only give students the data, but also demonstrate to them how it was collected. We do it with real equipment in real time. So it includes things like, systematic error, user error, error in our setup, that sort of stuff, real world issues with lab activities. It's important that provide great teachable moments for your students. But also in that first video segment, we include things like demonstrations, introductions, concepts associated with the lab activity. We don't just throw the lab right at them and say, hey, here's some data, now have at it and see what you can do with this handout. No, we prep them, we introduce the concepts, we try to extend the concepts as well. So the first video segment is quite full for the students. And the second student video segment is actually a follow-up video where we cover details about misconceptions in the lab, the data itself, how you can analyze the data, how it's constructed and how it's set up in the lab handout, as well as some answers to some challenge questions or ideas that we introduced in that first video segment. So we set the stage, we collect the data, you watch us collecting the data, and then we provide that video resource of us collecting the data, as well as a data file that your students can use on their own to perform the analysis. And then if you so choose to use it as an instructor, we provide a follow-up video for your students that walks them through some of the analysis strategies and all that stuff that I just talked about. And then the third video segment is for you, the instructor. So these labs were designed in a very specific way to coincide with our essential physics curriculum. We walk you through how we constructed that, what the intent was for the design, and how you can facilitate the lab with your students, as well as some misconceptions they might run into, troubles they might have analyzing the data, some tips and tricks on how to use the software to analyze the data best, and just a whole set of resources for you as the instructor to consume on your own aside from the student videos. So.
And I think it's really a complete package, JJ. It's three really very tight components. We sit down with you, JJ and Roger and Dan and Barbara. We all sit down with you in that first video and say, here's what we're going to be doing. And then there's two more videos. One that works with your students directly on collecting the data, and another one that sits down and says, now that I've collected the data, let's do the analysis. In fact, we even have a clip to start us off here. This is a clip on the teacher prep. And let's take a look at what that clip looks like for just teacher preparation. Can you show that, Nolan?
Shared sessions are real straightforward. I am the instructor. I'm going to collect data and my equipment, and students will see that data in real time. There may be a slight delay because of internet connection speeds and things like that, but essentially in real time. And then we'll cut them loose with the data that we connected. So let's show that, and we'll go ahead and get started. So within SparkView here, we're just going to go to this main menu. And there is a shared sessions button there. We'll click on it. And then we have two options. You can either open a session, and our students will use that button to join the session that we start. But I'm going to go ahead and start my own shared session here. So I'll click Start a Shared Session. It's real simple. All we need to do is give our session a name and tell it what our name is, and then pick the lab that we're going to open. And so my name is Mr. Plank. And we're just going to call our session Hook. And students are going to use the name of the session to join the session. So keeping it simple is often very useful.
And really, JJ, that was a very comprehensive, kind of like an overview. And again, this was for the teachers. So if you thought like, oh, this wouldn't be directed to the students, you're right. This is talking to the teacher, you, and explaining some things that you could use. And in that case, you were talking about the software.
Yeah, and the teacher video is, I mentioned the student video is very full. The teacher video includes distance learning tips. So the intent was for these resources to be used in a distance learning format, or however you see fit. But we include in the teacher video with every installment a distance learning tip, and that video had a distance learning tip that involved SparkView's shared sessions. So if you're in the distance learning instruction environment and you want students to actually see you collect data in real time, let's imagine you're in your classroom and they're at home, in front of their Chromebook. You can have them connect to this shared session, and you collect the data, and they'll see it populate on their screens in real time. So there's lots of options in the teacher resource videos that we offer.
Right, and that's actually a great thing to mention with our software. If you want to do a shared session, first you have to be able to say it 10 times fast, but then you can go right to our website at pasco.com. If you take a look at our video resources and type in shared session, you're going to find some great ways that you can do this with your students today, even outside of the Academy. But it was great to mention that tip. And I want you folks to know that it's not just video resources that are available. We also have some hard resources, digital resources, hard copy resources that can be printed or shared digitally or access to. Here I want to show you the teacher files that are available, just a sample of teacher files available. And what do we see here, JJ?
This is the 4A investigation from the Essential Physics textbook. And so the activities that are part of the Academy are taken from the textbook. Some of them are retooled just slightly to make them a better distance learning option, I should say. But these files come straight from the textbook initially, and then we provide them to you, the teacher, through the Academy in a downloadable format like you see here, as well as an editable format. So,
but what if I don't have the book?
That's okay. So if you don't have the physical textbook, the Academy actually includes access to the textbook as well as the handouts, student handouts, as well as teacher keys for all of the 15 investigations that are in that course. So the course 1 has 15, and course 2 will have a different number of installments, and each one has a set of files that go with it. And you can get them all from the Academy, which also provides you access to the book.
And I think that's terrific. It's not just the video resources that do the activity. You've got full curriculum to support that activity. And in fact, we can take a look at what a segment would look like if you were working with students. And this is our data collection video. And so let's just take a look at what a video kind of does with students. Can we see that, Nolan?
Do a short demo here that involves our own bungee cord and bungee jumper. So I've got a spring here, right? It's just a coiled metal spring and then a mass. And this spring will be our bungee cord.
Okay.
And this mass will be the bungee jumper. And so at the top, the bungee jumper jumps off and...
Oh, hey, he almost hit the table, but came up just short. That was kind of fun. I want to try that too. I got a spring.
So you've got your bungee cord.
I got my bungee jumper. Here we go. This is going to be fun. Oh, oh, that didn't turn out very well. What is going on here?
So Dan, it looks like your bungee cord or the springs here are different. There's different properties here that we're observing. Clearly, my bungee jumper,
the same.
Yeah, they look the same, right? They're about the same length, except my bungee jumper didn't go all the way down and touch the table, and your bungee jumper definitely hit the table.
And that was kind of a neat application for bungee jumpers, wasn't it? I mean, we learned something right there in the phenomena for bungee jumping.
Right. What
spring not to choose when jumping off of a bridge.
Make sure you know your bungee cord before you jump.
Know your spring constant before you jump off the bridge. And guys, I want you to know we are live, by the way. And so if you do have questions for JJ and I, we're ready to take your questions. Just type them in. We've got folks standing by that can ask those questions for you, and we'd love to hear them. Now, JJ, we did see a little bit about what's happening with the students, and I did want our folks at home to see all the student files that you are providing, that we provide. So take a look at the student files here that we're providing with the Academy, and what all do we have here? Like what do we give our folks?
So first of all, we give you the student lab handout, and these are downloadable. So if you're using an LMS, you can download these and post them directly to your LMS, as well as the video resources. You can provide links, direct links to the video resources, whether or not your students have access. You can link to it, and then they can get to it straight through your LMS. But file-wise, you've got the student lab handout, which is like the black line master, then the collected data or the sample data, right? So we use SparkView, our software, and so we'll collect the data in SparkView most of the time. Sometimes we'll collect the data and include it in the handout, and then we'll provide that sample data for you to give to your students. But most of the time, we'll give them raw data in SparkView, and the expectation is that students will go in and analyze the data, extract metadata from it. Let's say you have a continuous run of velocity versus time and you want to know what the acceleration is. We expect them to use a linear slope tool to figure out what their acceleration values are, but we'll give them the raw velocity time data sort of thing.
All of that data collected in the video. So we're actually providing that here.
That's right. And so if you want to go into deeper analysis of things like error or propagation of error, we cover all of the data collection through video. So students will be able to observe exactly what we're doing, maybe see some of the mistakes that we made, whether it be intentional or unintentional. It's a real lab. We do a real lab, and we want to provide that realness to you and your students. So, it's there in the video. But in addition to that, there were Word document versions of the file, so everything's editable. So if you wanted to change the lab handout, if it's too full, you can delete some sections that you don't think apply. Or if maybe there's just a lab that has two parts and one of the parts isn't part of your topic coverage for your curricular sequence, you can easily take that out. We provide the handout in a Google Slide format. So if you want to provide a completely distance learning format where your students won't interact with the file on their local machine, they can do it through Google Slides, and there's editable fields in there. They can enter data, draw pictures, lots of great tools. And how to use Google Slides will often sometimes be part of our distance learning tips on how to use that.
And slide that right into their Google Classroom.
That's exactly right.
And everybody has a file that you can take a look at and do some pretty instant grading, really very simply done with that. And so lots of great files. I think it's important to know that you're giving the data, you actually write the data down on those data sheets, and you're providing those data sheets to them, but it's also part of the software. The software file that you're putting there has that data in it. So all the analysis that's possible is possible because the data is stored. You're providing that data,
That's
you
right.
wrote down the data, they can analyze the data, and that software, is the software a problem?
No, so the software is, if the students are using software on their tablets or phones or whatever devices they have at home, they can find it in their stores, whether it be the Apple Store, the Google Play Store, and it's easily accessible. And then to tag on to what you were saying, JP, what's really neat about providing you the SparkView sample data file is that the data is all there. And you can change that file as an instructor however you want. You can move runs, you can rename runs, you can remove sections of data if you really want. You can export the data if you want to use it in another software like Excel or something like that. So there are infinite possibilities of what you can do with the data. We provide it to you in that that SparkView sample data file, but the raw data is there and we can do whatever we want with it.
Which gives lots of opportunities.
Yeah.
We want to take a look at what that would look like as we start the kind of our third clip here. Remember we said there were 3 clips. We want to take a look at what a clip would look like. What is it now as we follow up on that? So let's take a look at the third clip. Nolan?
Is made out of the same wire. Its coils have the same thickness as the medium one, which had a spring constant of around 6. And so the question is, how does this one compare to it? Now that we know about spring constant, we can just say, what will its spring constant be if it's twice as long as the other one? And so we've got everything here. Let's real quickly get the spring constant for this extra long one.
And what was your prediction?
I think since it's twice as long, it's going to be twice as much. And you thought it would be the same since it's the same sort of spring material. And I guess somebody else might think it'd be less.
So let's zero the force and then I'll click start.
Okay.
And go ahead and stretch it a little bit. And then I'll make that one data point. Okay. 2, 3, 4, and
All the way to the end.
5 is okay.
That's good enough to answer.
Yep. And so this spring was made of the same coils as the medium spring, right? So let's bring up the data for the medium spring just to look at it there.
They're not the same.
Oh,
You're wrong.
And here we can see that you're actually now showing how that data was collected and performing some analysis with that, right?
Yeah. So that video, although it seemed like it might have been the data collection video, what's actually going on in that video was Dan and I posed a question to your students in their data collection video that said, hey, we just recorded some force and distance or extension data for these 3 springs. Now we've got this weird 4th one. It's a little bit longer, but it kind of looks like one of the 3. What do you suspect the spring constant will be? So the idea was they take the data that we recorded in the data collection video, they analyze it, they finish their lab handout, and now they're in a better position to make a prediction about that weird different spring. And in that follow-up video that we were watching, we actually record the data to help, secure or refute ideas that they may have had.
Following the CER design and actually taking a look at the data and then supporting what it is that they might have concluded, and then you're giving them that answer.
Right.
And so the thought with these are, of course, as a teacher, you would watch the teacher prep video and say, oh, okay, I understand what's going on, and you design your classroom around that. Then you offer your students the first video, which goes through the data collection, and then you give them some time, obviously, and I think you kind of recommend the amount of time to give them, and then in a week or so, you give them the follow-up video, which allows them then to work with the answers. And we've got a question coming in. Brett.
What if we don't follow the course exactly?
Ooh.
What if you don't follow the course exactly?
Yeah, that is a great question.
Wonderful. Yeah.
So all in the Academy, the resources are broken down by the lab itself. So for course 1, there's 15 lab activities, so 15 installments, and each one is independent of the other. Although we sort of, when we made them in that chronological order, that doesn't mean that you have to follow that order. And those components are all yours to do with as you see fit. So you can download them, provide the links however you want, in whichever order you want in your, let's say, LMS or however you distribute them to students. So no, you are not required to stick to that format.
Right. So we had 15 topics for course 1. There are 15 topics, I think 10 installments, 15 topics covered in course 2. A full year of material there. If you go to the PASCO website and take a look, you'll see the full syllabi, the full syllabus of everything that's listed, all the courses. You pick what you want, you insert it where you feel it fits best. Question, Brett.
Do students get the lab instructions?
Yeah.
Do students get the lab instructions?
Yeah. So the part of each installment of the PASCO Academy is a student lab handout. And so the idea is we suggest you give your students that lab handout, and it's going to be the vessel, in which they record their data. And then you provide that with the sample data. And so they'll follow the instructions as they're written in the lab handout. So they'll get that handout. And then the way the handout's written, it talks like they're recording the data, but then we provide them with the data that has been recorded for them. And so, again, this all comes from the Essential Physics textbook, but the Academy installments may have slight tweaks to them to help facilitate more of a distance learning format. So where we need to fill some gaps to make it more appropriate for distance learning, we do that, but they will get the instructions in the handout.
Very nicely answered, JJ. And so we're really looking at preparing our students, and we're trying to prepare our students for what they might encounter next year, what they might encounter when they go off to college, university, or even just for life. And we come back to some of the data that maybe I found a little bit alarming when I took a look at what Cognia, the Innovation Lab, came back. Take a look at this data. This one is the concern about being prepared for the future. And very interestingly enough, it says that about 1/3 of our high school students are very concerned about being prepared for their future. And when it says sometimes, we see that 41% of our high school students are sometimes concerned about their future. And so, JJ, would you say that these resources help prepare students for what they might be facing? Maybe they're going to take AP Physics in the future. Yep. Maybe they're going off to college and bump into physics or chemistry, AP Chemistry in the future. Either way, does this help alleviate the numbers that I'm seeing here on this data?
Yeah, I mean, the whole goal here is for your students not to completely miss out on a lab experience. Obviously, in an ideal world, we want everybody to be in our lab classroom. We want them to be hands-on with the equipment, and we want them to, construct their ideas and concepts about physics and the physical world on their own, right? We're there to help them do that. But in the position that we're currently in, where distance learning it plays a major role in their learning experience, we help sort of construct that lab environment as best we can, and to provide as much of a successful experience for your students. This curriculum is intended for high school physics, honors physics, but community colleges, universities, colleges, all throughout the world are undergoing the same challenges, and they're using the same sort of resources. And so, yeah, we are helping to provide them with an opportunity to continue their education through the lab experience, so they don't have that gap when they get to college.
And so that's what we're hoping for, is to get that number of how our students feel about being prepared, get that number up a little bit. Brett, you've got a question.
How do the topics support phenomena? Can you provide an example?
How do the topics support phenomena, and can we provide an example? Well, I'll tell you before JJ even jumps in on that all of the topics in the Essential Physics book are phenomena related. Each chapter starts off with a phenomena, builds that phenomena, and discusses that phenomena throughout, and kind of like bungee jumping. I know we were kind of joking about the phenomena of bungee jumping, but JJ, what do you think about that?
So the way that we constructed each installment of the Academy begins with a phenomena, some real world phenomena that helps expose that underlying physics concept. For example, the two-dimensional, we have a projectile motion lab that we do. The two-dimensional phenomena has to do with the passenger on a bus and the person on the street, and what they see when the passenger on the bus jumps. Why is it that the passenger on the bus, when they jump, they see themselves go up and down, but the person on the street does not see them go up and down? It sees them go up and down and left to right, or right to left. So we start each one of those installments with a phenomenon. As you may have seen in the Hooke's Law video, we talk about bungee jumping, right? Bungee jumping, there's this elasticity associated with those bungee cords, and we talk about that in the video. What does that mean? What does stretchiness mean? When things are more stretchy or less stretchy, what exactly are we talking about?
And I did notice you guys even brought in some video clips. In fact, the one you were talking about, like jumping on
Yeah.
the bus, when you get that one, there are kids on a trampoline, on a trailer, being pulled by a tractor that does a really nice job of showing what you see. And I also saw some things from NASA that you guys brought in, taking a look at astronauts and looking at forces and how they are applied out in space. Question, Brett.
I think this relates to the last one a bit. Are they aligned to the process of anchoring phenomenon?
Are they aligned to the process of anchoring phenomena? That's a great question. I think what they're talking about is the NGSS anchoring phenomena, the phenomena that are suggested by NGSS and carried throughout. And I would say in some cases, the anchoring phenomena is directly tied to it. And in others, of course, NGSS was just a suggestion. But in our case, we found phenomena that are related to real life. And if the anchoring aspect is, do we carry it throughout? The answer is yes. We do anchor it. It is carried throughout, and it is carried throughout the entire lesson.
And
Right.
how long do they have access to the materials? Like, is it a subscription or?
How long do they have access to the materials? Well, you want me to speak on that? You want to speak on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, I'll speak on that. So right now, the semester one stuff, course one stuff was available until the end of January, but for our folks that are out there using it who are kind of finding out that we didn't quite get there, we didn't quite make it, we actually opened it up, and JJ, this is kind of a secret, so don't tell anybody, it'll be between you and I.
Okay.
That course one is going to be available to you guys all the way out until the end of the school year. And so you get access to it now, you'll have access to it all the way till the end of June. We're thinking July 1st, we'll probably close it down, clean it up, and get it ready for next school year, but you've got access to it, and you'll have access to it, and we will continue to support you all the way until the end of your school year, right?
Right.
And we're not just doing this for chemistry, physics, by the way. We are also doing it for chemistry. I do want to show you that we have these chemistry academies. Here you can see that we've got the same types of videos for chemistry, teacher preparation, and then we do the data collection and we do the student follow-up. And it's the same philosophy, the same things that JJ and I were here talking to you about is the same stuff here. And they also get access to the same type of files. Here you see the teacher files that are available just like they were in chemistry. You see the student files that are available just like they were in physics, rather, just like that. And of course, they've got complete access to the Essential Chemistry textbook, complete access to the digital version of Essential Chemistry with all of those labs and all of those files and all of those things available to help with get your students prepared for that. And so that's kind of a great thing.
Yeah, and I just wanted to jump in and say that it's really important to know that this PASCO Academy resource is not only a video resource to help you facilitate labs, but it's also, as JP just mentioned, it's part of a complete curriculum. So students will have access to all of the contents in these essential textbooks, both Essential Chemistry and Essential Physics, depending on what course you're in. And we recommend through some of those video resources that students actually participate in some, formative and summative assessment strategies. There are some other simulations and ideas that are in the textbook that we say, hey, this is a good opportunity for your students to do in this distance learning environment. There's a simulation here that's great. It may not be part of this video, but you as the instructor have the option or the ability to provide that access to them as part of this whole package.
Right. Yeah. It's almost. I would love. The word overwhelming kind of sounds bad, but there is an overwhelming number of resources, and you guys do a really nice job of taking those resources and providing them and making it very simple for folks out there to follow. But if you want to dig into it deeper, there are animations, simulations, interactive math equations, a full curriculum. If you want to use it, feel free to use your curriculum. But if you need curriculum support, we provide it to you. I just want to show you what it looks like in chemistry. I want you to get a feel for what the student data collection looks like in chemistry. I know we've been talking a lot about physics, and JJ loves physics,
awesome.
but I love chemistry. And let's take a look at that clip. Nolan?
Oh man,
That was
that was
cool.
so awesome.
Well, you know what I think? I think they need some more practice,
Oh yeah,
but let's go with a little bit more material this time.
yeah. They definitely need to do some more hydrogen producing math
Absolutely.
practice. And
Let's run.
explosions.
How about let's double it about if we
Double.
could? Yeah.
So double everything.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So if we double everything, you mean twice as much acid
Correct.
and twice as much magnesium.
There we go.
So there's one way to figure out how much. You just double everything. Another way that you can figure it out is by doing a calculation. And this time, I'm going to calculate everything in one line.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So instead of starting with 0.2 moles of hydrochloric acid, we're going to start with 0.4 moles of hydrochloric acid. That's double the amount we had last time.
That is so awesome. That's chemistry. I mean, that's real chemistry. That you don't have a good chemistry lab without at least having one good fire explosion.
Blowing stuff up. Yeah.
And they were able to do that. We have a question coming in, Brett.
When will the biology ebook be ready?
When will the biology ebook be ready? Well, I will tell you this. We've been looking very seriously at putting a biology resource together for coming out in August. And if you're really interested in this, if you're really interested and think that this is a good resource, please email me and let me know, because these are kind of the things that the market drives us to developing new things for you. We know chemistry and physics has requested it, and we've done it. If you're out there and need biology, we will do that too, but you got to let me know if you're interested in it. It's jkeener@pasco.com. jkeener@pasco.com. I think Nolan can pop that up on the screen for you. Email me and let me know. And folks are also asking, how do we get access to this? Like, I want to see it. I want to get access to it. How do I do that, JJ?
So the easiest way to sort of check out what we're talking about on your own is if you go to the pasco.com webpage, and JP, I don't know if you mind going there on your computer right now.
I do, actually. I do mind going there, but what will we find?
So if you go to pasco.com, there's a big banner with some graphics on the top of the webpage. The one that should be there when you land on the pasco.com webpage should say PASCO Academy. If you just click on it, it takes you to our Academy page. And on that is not only information about the two subjects, but the two courses in each subject, as well as a request form to get more information about pricing and that sort of stuff.
Scroll down to the bottom, right? So it's as easy as going to pasco.com. As soon as you go to pasco.com, the first thing that opens up is the Academy. Just click on it.
Yeah, there's a big banner at the top.
Big banner. You can't miss it. And just scroll to the bottom. After you reviewed it, scroll to the bottom. You can fill out some information. We'll get you a link. We'll get in contact with you. We'll let you have access to it, and you can see that. And so all of this is to help our students get prepared, help support our teachers. Here's a piece of data that came out of that research, and it was very interesting to me. This was teachers' confidence in preparing students, and 82% of our teachers feel like they're doing a good job preparing our students, and that's actually really good news when you think about it. That it's, you almost kind of feel daily out there like the world's coming to an end, but clearly it's not. We're doing a good job as teachers. All things considered, I would say we're doing an excellent job, but if we want to do a little bit better, we want to raise those numbers, we can help you do that. That's what the Academy is all about. Let's help our teachers with their confidence in preparing students. And let me just show one last little clip here, and then we're going to kind of close up here. But in that chemistry end of it, what does that follow-up with the students look like? For those of you teaching chemistry and you're thinking, well, now what do we do with that? It was great. We showed the explosion. We collected data. Now let's show how we analyze that data. Can we see that, Nolan? Hopefully.
Spring.
We promise it's there.
It's there. I know it's there.
To talk about the lab results.
Same reasoning. We're just going to use things that aren't necessarily tasty or can be eaten, obviously. But we're always going to start with what was given, and we're going to work our way towards the answer that is being requested.
Right, but let's get to the reaction that you saw.
Now, one of the things we did say, and I'll just swirl this one more time, just so if it's moving, sometimes it's easier to see if there's still materials left. As we looked in there are some pieces that are still in the bottom. Now, we could make, several kinds of postulates about what that is. Is it just something like cotton in the air that fell in, or some dust that fell in? There are small little fragments, which could have been the aspirin pieces that didn't dissolve.
They're white, little white pieces.
Absolutely,
Could have
they're
been the
sort of
tablet.
white. We could have assumed that there is still some of the carbonate, sodium bicarbonate in there that didn't react, although the vinegar in there should really get to those and make the carbon dioxide, so we don't see the bubbles left. So there's still something that's in there. I do agree, and if you put that in, that's great. But what we want to do is find out how much of the material that you put in would create the gas that was coming off.
I knew it was there. We just had to wait for it for a second or two. But you could see now that Barbara and Roger are doing a great job of taking a look at what they collected in the data and now analyzing the data and looking at that reaction and studying it a little bit in greater detail. And of course, we've got more examples like these on the PASCO website. You just go to the PASCO.com, click Academy, and you'll see some more stuff like this. Now, here's our last chunk of data, JJ, that I want to share. And this is really kind of... I feel it. I think we all feel it, but this is teachers feeling disconnected. And maybe at first we all thought it might be good not to have to go back into the classroom, but we're learning very quickly that we actually miss our classroom. We miss our students. Of course we do. We're educators. We want to be with our students. We want to be there working with them. We want to do that. It's showing us that 48% of the time we feel like we're really disconnected from our colleagues. 42% of our teachers said that most of the time they feel disconnected from their colleagues, and we're doing our best, not just within the Academy to provide these resources, but we also give you one last connection to build a community outside of the community you might be missing, and of course it's called our forum. And JJ, what happens there?
So the forum it's just that, it's a forum, but it's a place where you can go to interact with colleagues, whether it be high school or other grade levels, in discussion about the content that's in PASCO Academy, or content outside of that if you need. It is a community that we're building that will help you feel like you have access to resources. So.
And can they talk with you there? Like,
oh yeah, absolutely. So not only is it a great place for you to go interact with fellow teachers, but Dan, Barbara, Roger, myself, JP, other participants are local here at PASCO, are in there answering questions, talking about misconceptions, talking about strategies for using the tools. If you have software questions, if you have questions about the equipment, how it was tooled up for each activity, we're there to help answer those questions. And I'll tell you, it's a great feeling knowing that you can go somewhere and get some help if you need it right away. And we're there, in real time answering those questions. It's not so much that, hey, we kind of pile them all up at the end of the day and then answer them all at once. No, we're there looking at the forum constantly. And so we get updates when things get posted. And we
jump in there and answer them. And when you take a look at the forum, of course, we've got Dan Burns. Dan's been teaching over 30 years of physics. I've been teaching over 30 years of chemistry. Barbara's been teaching. Roger's been teaching. JJ's been teaching. And these are all great ideas. Other teachers there in the forum posting their ideas. It's not just what you see from us, but then you get to share your ideas too. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why we're so very excited about providing this opportunity to you. It's the PASCO Academy. It's not the end of the world. It's actually some very good news coming from the data and some even better news on what we can provide to you to make the world even a little bit better when things are difficult. It's our way of saying thank you for being great teachers, but also our way of saying we can help you make it even easier and a little bit better. You excited about that?
I'm very excited, yeah.
I think we all are. And we certainly hope that we get to hear from you. You have any questions, you let us know. You contact us, go to the PASCO Academy website, and we're there to help. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, we certainly wish you the best of luck, great teaching, and good day.